Can you hear me? I can't hear you. Hello, can you hear me? You can hear me or can't?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The time is 6 o'clock p.m. The city charter requires the mayor or deputy mayor to be present, so when they are present, the party will roll on. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, good evening. Welcome to this meeting of your Pontiac City Council. It is Tuesday, April 30th, 2024, on this beautiful sunny spring day in the center of the universe, Pontiac, Michigan. We give the floor to Councilman Parker to introduce the invocation.
Thank you, President McGinnis. Good afternoon, everybody. I pray everybody has enjoyed this Sunday day that God has given us today. Our invocation was given to us by Pastor Kathy Lee James of the East Side Church of God.
Amen. Good evening. Let's bow our heads, please. Heavenly Father, we just thank you today. We thank you for this day. We just thank you for your love and for your spirit in the midst of us today. Lord, we ask your blessings today over this meeting. We ask you to bless our administration, our mayor and deputy mayor. We ask your blessings over the entire council, and we ask your blessings over the people of the city of Pontiac. Lord, we ask you to please give us the wisdom and understanding to be able to make decisions that are pleasing in your sight. These blessings we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We now have a moment of silence as a community, remembering those that we have had to say goodbye to due to their passing. Councilwoman James has just given the invocation from the East Side Church of God. The founding pastor of that house of worship here in the city of Pontiac, the Reverend Dr. Matthew M. Scott, or M.M. Scott, has passed away. In previous decades, he was the president of the Oakland County Ministerial Fellowship, an advocate, an activist, a leader and a voice for change in our community. We send our condolences to the family, friends, colleagues, and parishioners of the Reverend Dr. Scott. Please join us for a moment of silence in their memory. Thank you very, very much. Roll call, Clerk Doyle.
Carrington,
Present.
Goodman, James,
Here.
McGinnis,
Present.
Nicholson,
Here.
Parker,
Here.
Rutherford.
Present.
Mr. President, you have a quorum.
All right. Quorum being established, could I please have a motion to excuse Councilman Goodman from this evening's meeting for personal reasons?
Support.
It's been moved by Councilman Rutherford, seconded by Pro Tem Carrington. Hearing no discussion. Roll call, Clerk Doyle on the motion to excuse Councilperson Goodman from this evening's meeting for personal reasons.
Carrington,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
McGinnis,
Yes.
Nicholson,
Yes.
Parker, Rutherford.
Yes.
6 yeas, no nays.
That motion carries. Is there a motion to approve this evening's agenda?
Moved by Carrington.
Support.
It's been moved by Pro Tem Carrington and seconded by Councilman Rutherford that we approve this evening's agenda. Any discussion, amendments, corrections? Hearing none, roll call, Clerk Doyle on adoption of this evening's agenda as presented.
James,
Yes.
McGinnis,
Yes.
Nicholson,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Rutherford,
Yes.
Carrington.
Yes.
6 yeas, no nays.
That motion carries. The agenda is approved. We'll proceed accordingly. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Support.
It's been moved by Councilman Parker, seconded by Councilman Rutherford, that we approve this evening's consent agenda. It has these 5 items. The April 22nd, 2024 Parks, Recreation, and Public Works Subcommittee meeting minutes of the City Council. The April 23rd, 2024 regular City Council meeting minutes. A resolution recognizing May as Asian Pacific Islander Heritage Month in the City of Pontiac. A resolution recognizing May as Mental Health Awareness Month in the City of Pontiac, and a resolution approving long-term stormwater maintenance agreement with McLaren Oakland Hospital. That is before us. If the consent agenda is approved, all those 5 items will be adopted in one fell swoop for efficiency's sake. All right, Clerk Doyle, roll call on the consent agenda.
James,
Yes.
McGinnis,
Yes.
Nicholson, Parker,
Yes.
Rutherford,
Yes.
Carrington.
Yes.
6 yeas, no nays.
That motion carries. The consent agenda is adopted. Those items are approved. We are now at recognition of elected officials, an opportunity for current elected officials in the community to give an update on their positions or role. We have elected officials in our midst, but do they want to be recognized to give an elected official update? All right, with that, would you like to? All right, from the Pontiac School Board, the Honorable Shaquana Davis-Smith.
Is it when we're
It now is on, yeah?
Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of council and fellow citizens. Today I stand before you to address the matter that strikes at a very integrity of how we conduct ourselves at elected officials in position of public trust and service. I am Shaquana Davis-Smith, school board trustee and a local business owner and an elected official who, like many of you, deeply cares about our city and its future. It has come to my attention that Councilwoman Melanie Rutherford has been spreading information about my business compliance status without the decency of professionalism to approach me directly. This action speaks volumes about her respect, not just for a fellow elected official, but for a constituent, a Black woman, and a dedicated business owner in Pontiac. Despite what Councilwoman Rutherford might believe, I promptly addressed the compliance issue upon learning of it in an oversight that even the state had missed in their inspection. Yes, I missed filing my first annual report in error that has since been reflected with the assistance of T. Ramsey and Associates. But let's be clear, the manner in which I was informed by Councilwoman Rutherford was not only inappropriate, it was destructive. By choosing to speak about these matters behind my back rather than to my face, Councilwoman Rutherford has not only undermined my reputation, but has also potentially harmed the very youth program that brings so much joy and learning to our community children. These programs, which I have proudly contributed to with both time and financial resources, are vital for our city's growth and well-being. Moreover, if Councilwoman Rutherford truly cared about the survival and prosperity of local businesses, especially those funded and managed by members of our community, she would have approached me, offered guidance or assistance rather than casting stories from her position of power. I ask for Councilwoman Rutherford and all those present here, is this the example we want to set for how elected officials should act? Is this how we build a stronger community, by tearing down one another instead of building each other up? We are here to serve Pontiac, to nurture its businesses, to support its residents. We should be working together to face the challenges that our community encounters, not creating more for petty political gain. I stand before you asking for accountability, for respect, and for a commitment from all city officials, including Councilwoman Rutherford, to support and uplift rather than disparage and divide us. Thank you.
Are there other elected officials that wish to have the floor? All right. Is there a motion to suspend the rules to add a new first discussion topic later on the agenda that will be addressing youth recreation remote site compliance?
I make that motion.
Okay. Is there a second? It's been moved by Councilman Rutherford, seconded by Councilman Parker, that we suspend the rules to, even though we've adopted the agenda, add a new discussion. So that way we can have city council members provide perspective on what's just been raised and insert it into this evening's conversation. So what we have before us is there a motion to suspend the rules to add that additional discussion item that will come later in the agenda. All right. Seconded by Parker. All right, hearing no further discussion, speakers list exhausted. The motion before us is adding an additional discussion. It will be the new number 4, and everything else will go down in number from there in terms of youth recreation remote sites. Hearing no further discussion, roll call, Clerk Doyle. on the motion to suspend the rules and add that item as a discussion later in the agenda when we get to discussions.
McGinnis,
Yes.
Nicholson,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Rutherford,
Yes.
Carrington,
Yes.
James.
Yes.
6 yeas, no nays.
Okay, that motion carries. We are now at agenda address. Pro Tem Carrington, are there any requests tonight?
Thank you, President McGinnis, Mr. Carlton Jones, and then Dr. Drew Waterman.
Good evening. I want to take a time to talk about one item specifically on the agenda, and that's item number 1, dealing with the park issue of relocating disc golf. And anybody know that I'm a golfer, been a long-time golfer here in Pontiac, and I realize that a lot of us in Pontiac are not familiar with golf and disc golf, and I reading the piece that it said it's going to be relocated. And maybe I can understand because I don't have the particulars, but I'm hoping that it's going to be relocated somewhere in Pontiac. It didn't say where. It may be some other plans of how they want to rework the park and move it to someplace else. That's okay. But I'm saying that golf is an emerging sport. Disc golf is a little different, but it's in line to a highly recreational opportunity for people when they visit the park. So I'm just hoping that it's not just going to be removed from the park that's in Pontiac and not to another location in Pontiac so that we can continue to promote golf here in Pontiac. Because we want to continue to promote golf, not only disc golf, but golf to our young people, golf as a sport, as a lifetime sport. And if we don't introduce it and support it in all fashions, it can get left out, especially in the urban community. So I want to get some response to that. Is it going to be relocated in the city of Pontiac, or is it being relocated somewhere else outside Pontiac? Because all it says is going to be relocated. Thank you.
Next up.
Dr. Drew Waterman.
Good evening. I came this evening to talk about agenda items. The numbers have changed now, but very peculiar agenda this evening. So it was agenda item 4 through 10, all of which seems to be discussion items, but they seem to be discussion items in which the council is talking about all the staff who have left here, particularly department heads, and seem to be chastising the administration for how they're going to run this administration, all the things that are running late because of that, and the things that the citizens are losing because of that. So, for example, there is no finance director. There is no DPW director and no engineer. There is no head of the grants department, which was bringing in so much money. And although there is an economic development director, we were told by the mayor she doesn't want to come to council meetings and talk to you, which is interesting because I've never heard that there's a department head who does report to the mayor, and if the mayor wants her to come and talk to you and you want to talk to her, she should do that. You pay her big figures to come and talk and do her job, and one of those is coming and talking to the citizens and the city council. And it's also, they're talking about, these are all the big department heads. The only department head that's not mentioned here is the law department. But all the departments that run the city that are responsible for all these programs are gone. They've walked away. There is a nasty underbelly about this administration that people are leaving, talented people. And that is the people of Pontiac are suffering because they can't get the programs through. I'm thinking about all the ARPA money that should be going to citizens and businesses. And we hear that those programs are behind. People have not have applied, can't even get. There's only 4 homes that have been completed. The last report we got. That's what's hurting the citizens of Pontiac right now.
Ms. Darlene Clark, what item? Okay.
Good afternoon, Council, Administration, and Mayor. I'm speaking on number 5. Did you have an agenda for an update from Councilman Parker and Mayor Tim Grimel? Hopefully it's good news for the retirees. And with that being said, today it was a scheduled meeting at 3 p.m. at the Federal Building, and let's hope that the mayor, from his attorneys, again, have positive news for these retirees. If he does not, you have my word, because I did bring it up last week, that I will bring any information back as of next Tuesday to give you update if it doesn't meet the standard of what's that the retirees are looking forward to. Again, I hope the mayor can really give the retirees some very, very positive news.
Ms. Gloria Miller. She's not present. That concludes agenda address. President McGinnis.
Thank you, Pro Tem Carrington. We're at number 1 on the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the resolution approving the relocation of disc golf course from Hawthorne Park?
So moved.
Pontiac?
Support.
All right. Moved by Councilman Rutherford, seconded by Pro Tem Carrington. I want to give the floor to Councilwoman James, who helped draft this resolution, for background information.
Okay, is it possible I could just read this? I'd like to start by just reading it. I think it's kind of self-explanatory, and then I'll answer the question that was asked. Whereas the City of Pontiac, under the previous administration, approved a Mayor's Neighborhood Empowerment Grant to install an 18-hole disc golf course at Hawthorne Park. And whereas the 18-hole disc golf course completely surrounds the park and its existing park amenities, and whereas at the time of the grant approval, the City of Pontiac lacked park management and planning staff to adequately assess the potential impacts of the disc golf course on future development of the park, and whereas the disc golf course was implemented without such adequate considerations, resulting in its current status as a deterrent to the implementation of planned upgrades to the park, which have been determined with strong community input and engagement from Pontiac residents. And whereas in June of 2023, the City of Pontiac entered a 20-year interlocal partnership agreement for Hawthorne Park between Oakland County and the City of Pontiac, in which Oakland County will manage the day-to-day operations and the planning and development of Hawthorne Park with city approval. And whereas Oakland County has proposed an alternative location for the disc golf course, therefore be it resolved that the members of the Pontiac City Council formally authorizes and requests the Oakland County Parks and Recreation Department to relocate the disc golf course from Pontiac Oaks Park, previously known as Hawthorne Park, due to its incompatibility with the future development and expansion of Pontiac Oaks, Hawthorne Park, and further resolve, request regular updates on where Oakland County Parks and Recreation relocates the disc golf course at a more suitable nearby site. That is the resolution. The Oakland County Parks Group did reach out to us in regards to that disc golf course. It was put in with city monies, but at the present time, it just is exactly what the resolution says. It's undermining the potential of the park to be expanded and to be able to add new amenities to that park. The disc golf course is pretty much predominantly being used by, and this was discussed even when I was involved in the discussions about the disc golf course that approved it in the previous administration. But it was always, it was known that we have outsiders who wanted that golf course here. They are not Pontiac residents. The majority of the people who use the disc golf course are not Pontiac residents. That group that operates it, and they have been very cooperative. I don't want to cast anything negative upon them. They have been very cooperative with the City of Pontiac, but it is essentially not a Pontiac group, and very few Pontiac residents utilize that that disc golf course for recreation. What the county has said is that they want to relocate it to a new site. I can't give you the name because there is some property that the county owns that is in the city of Pontiac. It's over there near where the Oakland County campus is currently, behind where the shopping center is. But there is property that the county owns that they plan to create a recreational area on that property. And so this is, you know, I won't say long-term, but this is in the planning stages only. They want to relocate the disc golf course to that new site. So it would be in the city of Pontiac. It would be available to Pontiac residents, yes.
Okay. And again, the city council adopted an agreement with Oakland County last fall that spelled out that as this, you know, it's still a city-owned park, there's a long-term relationship with Oakland County, but any substantial changes to the park has to get sign-off from us, the city of Pontiac. And this is the action that would give that authorization for that change to the Hawthorne Park location.
And again, it's nothing in regards to disc golf. It's nothing in regards to the organization, but it is definitely a detriment to the future development of the park. And for that reason, we are in agreement with Oakland County Parks and Rec to relocate the site.
Any further discussion on the motion before us? Councilman Nicholson.
I understand that the original implementation of this did have significant funding from the city. I am one of those people who does utilize that course. And the hundreds of people who do come and play disc golf have had multiple events in and around our downtown, bringing many of their customers in for all of us. I'm worried that with this particular sport places people all around at every part and edge of that park. There are significant untoward things that happen in that park that many of us are all aware of. Having those individuals in and around those areas of the park has been huge to deterring those criminal activities. I know many of the people that are involved in that organization. Not having a future, having them fundraise thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars in creating those spaces. I'm not supportive of this until Oakland County gives us more information, a timeline, the impact and their investment in relocating and supporting and implementing that new space for those individuals who do come, and some of them do live in our city. I think this is a great recreation activity, and it's one that I've been able to take part in with my limited physical abilities.
Councilman Parker.
Thank you, Brother President. I too share the concern that our brother Councilman Nicholson shares, that I don't know what disc golf is. I never played it before in my life, but I do know until somebody tells me where they're going to put this, I would be very hesitant to vote yes for it, because we don't know where it's going. I just heard, and I appreciate what we just heard, but that is not listed in stone. It certainly is not listed in some paperwork that can be approved. And so I'm going to be hesitant to vote yes for it, because until somebody tells me exactly where it's going and where it's going to be involved, I can't see why we would approve it.
A layperson's description of disc golf, and I'm no expert, but essentially it's using frisbees to toss into chain poles with chains, sort of you're playing golf with a frisbee to a different destination or hole. So rather than a golf ball towards the cage or net, you're frisbeeing it as a frame of reference. Councilwoman James, did you want to have a hand?
Yes. Let me clarify two things. First of all, it is not an elimination of disc golf. It is a relocation. And the relocation will not take place until the new location is available. However, Oakland County Parks has no authority to do this until the City of Pontiac Council gives them that authority. So there would be no need for them to move forward with planning if we don't give them the authorization to do it. So that's really what we are here tonight to approve this, so that they can then begin that planning process. But that disc golf course is still there. It will remain there until the new facility is ready. And it would be, and they would move to that new facility. So, I mean, again, it's not being eliminated, it's being moved. It's still going to be in the city of Pontiac, and it will be available until the new facility is met. But if we don't approve, if we don't give the county the authorization to move forward, then they're not going to be able to do anything. And that is going to limit the development that we want to see at Pontiac Oaks, because anyone who's been out there has seen the growth and development that's taken place out there. The new dock is being used tremendously. The new playground is going in. They've got like three or four different pieces of play equipment in the playground. The bathrooms are going to be ready to be opened within. It really, I mean, and it's really getting used. And I agree with you that disc golf, we have a great group of people that go out there that utilize disc golf. But again, we're not eliminating disc golf, but we do need to relocate it if we want to see the development at Pontiac Oaks that we want to see, because that golf course literally surrounds the perimeter of the park, which just, it doesn't make sense that it was planned that way, but it was. And it is just swallowing up the ability of the park to be able to expand. They want to put in walking trails and other things. It's going to be really hard to do with the present configuration of that golf course.
Thank you very much for that further context. The mayor is next on the speaker's list. If without strong objection from council members, I'm going to start writing a little amendment that just specifies that our approval is contingent upon that sort of next phase or that next location being available or accessible prior to make it explicitly clear with what you said, Councilman James. Are you open to that, where we just say that
Yes.
the relocation follows when they have a new viable disc course online, so to speak?
Yes.
Okay. Mayor Grima?
Yeah, I just want to echo the sentiments of Councilwoman James, because the concern is that the disc golf actually, just based on the maps that I've seen, it's actually occupies the large majority of the park. It's not just on the perimeter of the park. It occupies the large majority of the park. So the park effectively has become a disc golf course. And the Parks Commission basically can't make the improvements out there that it would like to make without relocating this. They've been pretty clear about that. And I actually have some concerns about the amendment, because I don't know what their timeline is to create a new disc golf course. And they're not going to be able to do anything more than they've already done at Galloway Lake Park, at Hawthorne Park, Pontiac Oaks, until that happens with this amendment. So I don't think we'll see any progress at Hawthorne Park for at least another year, maybe longer, with this amendment, just to be clear.
Further discussion? All right, is there a motion to amend the resolution to add an additional resolve that stipulates that the city council authorization is contingent on the new disc golf course being in place and available for residents?
Make the motion.
Is there a second?
Can I ask before clarity?
Sure.
We're asking for the location to be identified before.
The amendment, should it get a second, would be before us to say, and the mayor has expressed his concern that the authorization is contingent on the new disc golf course being open and available, meaning they would have to have the replacement in place before they can take the existing disc golf course, dismantle it, or remove it from where its current location is at the county park in our city. So Councilman Nicholson has moved it. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. So it's been moved by Councilman Nicholson and seconded by Councilman Parker that a amendment be added. It'd be a second resolved that states that the city council authorization for the relocation of the current disc golf course is stipulated upon the establishment and opening of the new disc golf course prior to the elimination and closure of the existing disc golf course. So that's been moved and seconded as an amendment. I hear the mayor's concerns, and it does give me pause as well as we think through this. So, but Councilwoman James?
Yeah, I would rather set this aside for a week so that we can get clarification from Oakland County, because I'm really uncomfortable with, you know, making this kind of a decision for an out-of-city group. And we know the impact it is going to have on future development of the park. So I have a real problem with that. I think we need to, I would recommend that we table this for this week and get some clarification from Oakland County whether or not that was the plan, to be able to shut the current one down after they had, you know, built. But again, like I said, the property that they have, none of that is, you know, has been ironed out. They're still working through the details of that. And so that's some time in the future. So we need to get clarification, and I would just as soon wait so that we know what we're voting on, because this is very important to Pontiac residents. This is going to be the only park in our city with working bathrooms, with beautiful playground. We do not want to get this wrong. And so I would say let's wait until all the facts are on the table and you make your decision then.
Okay, Councilwoman James moves to postpone for 1 week.
I will withdraw my motion.
Okay. Councilman Nicholson, for the sake of just making it procedurally tidy, Councilman Nicholson withdraws his motion to amend. Does Councilman Parker withdraw his second? Okay, so we're back to the main resolution. Councilwoman James now moves to postpone for 1 week for further research and review, and it's been seconded by Councilman Nicholson. Is everyone clear on the vote before us? All right, with that, speakers list exhausted. Clerk Doyle, roll call vote on postponing of the resolution approving relocation of disc golf course from Hawthorne Park, Pontiac Oaks for 1 week.
Rutherford,
Yes.
Carrington,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
McGinnis,
Yes.
Nicholson, Parker.
Yes.
6 yeas, no nays.
That motion carries. The resolution is postponed and we'll be back next week. Number 2 on the agenda, resolution approving fuel card process for city vehicle refueling. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution?
So moved.
Support.
It's been moved by Councilman Parker, seconded by Councilman Nicholson. It is now before us. Mayor Administration has the floor for background information for council consideration.
Thank you very much, President McGinnis. We have our purchasing manager with us to present this topic, and this is really designed to save the city funds and money when it comes to the cost of refueling our vehicles. That's the upshot of this fuel purchase program. And with that, I'll turn it over to Purchasing Manager Martin.
Good afternoon, Council. Good afternoon, Administration. Good afternoon, residents of the City of Pontiac. I have joining with me this afternoon Mark, who is the representative. His name is Mark Roberts. He's the Director of Bids and Contracts. And he's joining me today to present a resolution regarding the fuel card program, which will be, the agreement will be executed with Corpay Technologies, Operating Company, LLC. Before I concur with what the mayor said, this particular fuel card program will ensure that we have access to 50,000 stations nationwide if necessary. But specifically within Oakland County, we have access to 84 stations. In particular, looking at the city of Pontiac, there are 7 stations here. And then in our surrounding communities, such as Bloomfield Hills, there's 4 stations there, 7 stations in Auburn Hills. So there's several stations that's enrolled in this particular fuel card program for our personnel to have access to purchase fuel for the city's fleet and equipment. That's what the fuel is being purchased for. We were using Spencer Oil. The spend for Spencer Oil was exceeding the major purchase cost, and so we opted to go with a cooperative to bring that into compliance with our municipal code. And so I have with me again Mark, who's going to be available to answer any questions that council may have in specific to the pricing model that we'll be using for this particular fuel card program. And that's basically it.
Okay. Mr. Roberts, are you able to hear the council audio sufficiently?
Yes, I can hear.
And is there anything that you'd like to elucidate further beyond what's already been shared before we deliberate further?
No, not really. It's a purchasing cooperative contract that we hold.
Okay. Thank you. I'm going to read the resolution and find out if there's any final discussion. Resolution to approve executing the Corpay Technologies Operating LLC's piggyback agreement for discounted fuel prices through the Omnia Partners Cooperative Contract. Whereas the City of Pontiac requires fuel for the City of Pontiac fleet and equipment, and whereas Corpay Technologies Operating Company LLC through the Omnia Partners Cooperative offers discounted fuel costs when using their fuel card at certain gas stations, and whereas Corpay uses a wholesale-based pricing approach by using the Oil Price Information Service as a benchmark for determining fuel prices, and whereas the Department of Public Works and the Purchasing Division anticipates that city departments will benefit from using this fuel service and will provide a cost savings to the city, and therefore all of us taxpayers. And whereas funds are appropriated in various general ledger accounts identified and for a total budget of $147,000. And whereas the Purchasing Division will create a contract purchase order, CPO, to monitor fuel purchases so that the cost does not exceed budgeted amounts indicated herein. And whereas entering into the described cooperative agreement is in compliance with the city's municipal code, Article 6, Division 2, Sections 2-517 through 2-519 regarding major purchases. Now therefore be it resolved that the Pontiac City Council authorizes the mayor or mayor's designee to execute a cooperative piggyback agreement with Corpay Technologies Operating Company LLC through December 31st, 2024, so the end of this calendar year, with the option to renew for 2 additional one-year terms for fuel card services and related products. Any further discussion from council? All right, speakers. Councilman James, you have the floor.
Just looking at the cost of unleaded, I guess I don't get those numbers.
So, Mark, if you don't mind just going over the example that we discussed this afternoon with ExxonMobil and the Speedway comparison, showing under this fuel card program how much of a savings the city would incur in that example.
Yeah, am I able to put it up on the screen?
Yes, you can share your screen.
The council can see?
Yes, they can. Just you need to make it bigger. Okay.
Is that better?
Yes, that's better.
So, yeah, this is an example of last week. So the way the pricing works for this program, each week we use the Thursday wholesale prices according to OPUS, which we pull into our system for the sake of establishing the price. And so this is an example of 2 different transactions One's at a Exxon location in Pontiac. The other one is down the street at Auburn Hills at a Speedway location. So I pulled a couple of transaction examples from the system where I could actually capture the exact retail price that was happening on these 2 days. They were right beside each other as far as the time frame. One was on Monday, April 22nd, and the one at the Speedway was the next day on Tuesday, April 23rd. The retail price for these two regular unleaded transactions, one was $3.689 per gallon at the Exxon. Over at the Speedway, the retail price that day was $3.499. This example brings in the Opus rack price that would have applied to the city on these two particular transactions, plus the freight rate that's in our system that would apply, and then it's bringing in all taxes. Now, you all would be exempted certain tax, but this is just for the sake of comparing to the retail price. And then the markup per gallon that's in the contract is 0.1275, so $12.75 is the markup over the rack cost that is our margin. And then the anticipated price per gallon before tax exemption is shown there. And then the estimated savings on these two transactions, the one estimated savings was like 45 cents, the other one 32 cents a gallon. Now, these savings are before tax exemptions, and it's before a possible never below cost override that our contract has written into it. So I just want to point that out. But in addition to these savings, that you would also receive tax exemption, which the state tax is 30 cents a gallon. We're able to exempt the city, and the federal tax is 0.183 per gallon. So it's a total of 48 cents a gallon exempt tax that you would be able to be exempted. So.
And that breakdown is, and can I walk over to the monitor just to show where he was indicating that breakdown? Sure. Is that okay? Okay, so right here is where he was talking about the Opus rack price, that's 2.5865. Here is the freight cost of 0.02 cents. And then the estimated total tax that he was talking about that we will be exempted from is that's 0.50 cents. And then you have a markup for Omnia Partners, which is the 0.1275. So the cost here, if we were to use the fuel card program this day, would have been $3.23. If we had not used this program, it would have been $3.68. So that's to give you an idea of the cost savings.
Any further discussion? Councilwoman James?
The tax exempt that he spoke of, the 30 cents and the 48, is that in addition to the reduced cost of the gas?
That's part of the breakdown that I just indicated. So we will not be charged the state or the federal tax.
Correct. It's that savings on the tax is over and above the savings, the other savings per gallon.
Okay, sorry.
All right, thank you.
Councilman Parker?
So as the market rate goes up, does that mean that our discount, the price for our gas will rise up as well?
Mark, he's asking as the prices change on the Opus, that's what I'm referring to, which is the market, well, how would those impact the pricing that we're getting? So if the price goes up, does our price go up at the pump?
Yes, the pricing is tied to wholesale prices. So if wholesale prices go up, then yes, the city's price does go up. And if likewise, similarly, if it goes down, your prices go down. So it floats up and down with the wholesale prices.
Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Council President. If I may, essentially what this program does is it allows us to, instead of buying gas at the retail price, it allows us to buy at the wholesale price plus a small much smaller than a retail markup.
Any final discussion? Hearing no further discussion, speakers list exhausted. Roll call, Clerk Doyle, on adoption of the resolution approving the fuel card process for city vehicle refueling.
Carrington,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
McGinnis,
Yes.
Nicholson,
Yes.
Parker. Rutherford.
Yes.
6 yeas, no nays.
That motion carries. The resolution is adopted. We are now at number 3. It's the resolution approving right-of-way vacation for Hovey Street. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? Support. It's been moved by Councilman Rutherford, seconded by Councilman Nicholson. The matter is now before council for consideration. Mayor and administration has the floor for background.
Thank you, President McGinnis. This is a proposed vacating of a currently public road in order to facilitate the revamping and expansion of the Lighthouse campus. As I think everyone knows, the Lighthouse organization, Lighthouse of Oakland County, has proposed an expansion of their headquarters, including a market for food, including additional short-term shelter beds. And as part of that proposal, we approved a rezoning request from them, and it was always planned that it would include this vacating of Hovey Street there. And so that is what is before City Council this evening.
All right. This is located just east of Woodward Avenue, and it's between Cottage and Osmond-ish. Yeah, specifically between Cottage and Park Place. I'm just stretching it so that way you can open it. So if it's a city, it's a public street. So if any public street is ever to be taken off, sort of removed from the rolls as a public street, the city council has to vote to vacate or remove it as a public street. And so for this proposal, this applicant is requesting it being vacated, meaning it's no longer going to be a through street. It would become part of the Lighthouse campus. We have considered a few other street vacations, not too many, over the last 2.5 years, but over the decades, the city, of course, has vacated streets when they're no longer as viable, and especially if those streets were designed for a specific residential or commercial or industrial use, and that's no longer the case.
What I'm going to do for the sake of time, thank you for helping to, while we get the technical set up, is I'm going to start this presentation without the actual visuals, and then I'm going to focus at the end of the presentation about some of the visuals of the photos, the map, just to give City Council and the public some context to this request. So this is a application to vacate a right-of-way, which is a public street. It is from one block of Hovey Lane, from Cottage Street south to Park Place. And this is located, I believe, in District 7. This is part of Lighthouse's campus plan. They are going through a final site plan to get approval to create a campus for multiple uses on that site. And it is located where their existing headquarters are along Woodward. The request went to a public hearing at Planning Commission on July 5th of 2023. And there was a recommended approval from Planning Commission. There were several conditions. One was that there was a reverter clause, which I will bring up in a few minutes. The second one is they needed to go through a traffic impact study. So they submitted that in August. It went through several rounds, but that is the reason why it has taken a little while for this to get to City Council here. So. The request itself went through, again, a traffic study, a traffic impact study reviewed by our engineers. The traffic study typically looks at intersections and what the change or increase in volume from this development and the right-of-way vacation would be doing. That found that there would not be a significant change that would require any modifications. While some individual drivers may have to relocate their driving patterns, it was not found to be significant enough that an improvement was needed to be made, or it still led to a positive recommendation. Along with this request, there are two things that are located in the packet. One is a vacation agreement with the city. The second one is a utility and access easement. So while this road would become privatized, this road will still have an easement, the full width of the road, for utilities, access, construction, emergency access, so that will be maintained through this, even though this road may not be open to the public. But what Lighthouse is looking to do as part of this is actually create parking and create a little bit of a campus environment that cars are not coming through this area. So the road may be reconfigured slightly to really restrict cross-access movements by the general public. And Planning Commission's recommendation for this was approval, and again, the engineer's recommendation was also approval. So unless we're able to get the PowerPoint, that is my presentation. I'll be happy to entertain any questions you may have. There are a lot of exhibits of this within the council packet. We're sorry for the technical difficulties today.
Yes, so there are maps, site maps reflecting where the subject street is in relation to other streets in the publicly available council packets. Interesting note that it recently was rated this small little few feet of a road. It doesn't even go all the way to Cottage. It's Park Place to Osmond. There likely was more of Hovey Street decades ago before the Lighthouse campus that probably would have gone through, but I anticipate that that was vacated decades ago to allow for the expanded Lighthouse at that time. But the road segment received a PACER rating of 2, which indicates that the road needs complete reconstruction. So the current state of Hovey is very deteriorated as well. We're going to keep deliberation and conversation going. Any further discussion? Councilman Rutherford, this is located in District 1. I know you've been a big advocate for the Lighthouse campus. Oh, and we've got some visuals.
I'm excited about this program. I'm excited about the Lighthouse and what they do in this community. I have seen them grow and expand, and this is just one step closer to making sure that everyone has a place to stay when they're in transition or when they're in a situation where they simply have no other place to stay. Currently, the Lighthouse has only 45 family suites. On a weekly, me and fellow council members have called to try to get our constituents who are facing homelessness in these programs. Letting this event happen strengthens their power to service the community as a whole. I look forward to seeing this pass, and I am in full support of this because it truly is about helping the least of these and not just helping people just because we can. It's all about helping everybody. Thank you.
Okay.
I just wanted to show a few viewpoints if I can. I'm going to just go through just a few slides here. There are 8 standards of approval from the municipal code. They're just listed up here, and that really is what planning and engineering have filled within your packet. If you can go to the next slide, Ken. I just want to highlight just with these standards, this street vacation is crucial to Lighthouse's camp. Can you go back to the previous slide? Next one, there we go. This street vacation is crucial to Lighthouse's campus development. If it approved, they can obtain the final site plan, which is currently under review. If denied, they would need to make some modifications or seek variances for parking and setback requirements. The traffic study, again, looks at intersections and the impact of street closures. The result of the trip generation analysis shows the redirection of the street vacation increase in building size will have a negligible impact on the study intersection operations, and there are no changes or recommendations from this development for this increased square footage. If you can go to the next slide. And as I mentioned, the vacation agreement and access and utility easement agreement are within the packet, and you are approving those this evening as well that the mayor can sign. If you can go to the next one. And this is the recommendation with the 2 conditions. I didn't mention earlier, the first one, the traffic study is complete. The second condition is Lighthouse is entering into a road vacation agreement with the city to govern the following items. A reverter clause shall be placed on the property that if the project presented in the master plan for the zoning map amendment is not substantially completed within 3 years, the city has the option to rededicate this portion of Hovey Lane as an active public street. Secondly, and a reverter clause shall be placed on the properties that if Lighthouse ever sells the property or properties, the city has the option to rededicate this portion of Hovey Lane as an active public street. And these conditions line with the conditional rezoning agreement. If you remember that, if they were ever, Lighthouse were ever to sell this property, it would revert back to the previous zoning. So that is my presentation. I'd be happy to entertain any questions you may have. Thank you.
Okay, and I just want to clarify, when I was describing kind of where the street stands, I was really more describing what it would be prospectively should this be adopted, that there would still be a portion that does connect. Pro Tem Carrington has a question about a portion of the resolution. Pro Tem?
Yes, thank you, President McGinnis. When you say not substantially completed within 3 years, what is the determining factor? How can we measure that? I just was wondering how would you measure that?
I'd like to introduce Deja Vasquez up here to discuss that a little further. Typically, from a planning standpoint, that would be that they've received their building permits, there's active construction, but I'm going to defer to her on that.
Yeah, and I will agree with Mark with that, that they are in the process of getting it done, that they have their building permits and everything done already.
Okay, thank you.
A follow-up question related. In the whereas that it's describing what the Planning Commission conditions were, it's saying a reversion clause stating that if the project presented in the master plan for the zoning map amendment is not substantially completed within 3 years, the city shall have the authority to demand that the vacated portion of Hovey Street be dedicated to the city for public use. Obviously, it's clear that it's a reversion clause, but it's saying dedicated to the city for public use. Is that the right terminology versus rededicated?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. So the Councilwoman James, you have the floor.
I have one question. On the 4 parcels that are directly adjacent to Hovey, you said that the Lighthouse owns 3 of those. Is that 4th parcel negatively affected by this at all?
Councilwoman James, I just want to make sure and clarify. We've got a parcel map up here. So this is the Lighthouse property right here. They currently own the 2 on the northeast corner of Park Place and all the ones along Cottage here. There are 2 that they do not own on Park Place, but those, anyone visiting those sites can easily use Center Street to Cottage to be able to access. But I wanted to clarify, is that answering your question, or are there other parcels you were curious about for their access?
Well, actually, it just says 1. It says 3 of these parcels.
Yeah.
There are 4 parcels directly adjacent to Hovey.
Yep.
And that Lighthouse owns 3, and I was just wondering if that 4th parcel would be negatively impacted.
I'm fairly certain the 4th parcel that's not owned by Lighthouse is actually listed right here, and they would have access to Hovey southbound. They would have access to Park Place to get out to Osmond. So, thank you.
Good question. I'm glad that we explicitly made that clear. Is there further final discussion on the motion before us? Hearing nothing further, speakers list exhausted. This is the resolution approving the right-of-way vacation for Hovey Street in the city of Pontiac, Michigan. Hearing no further discussion, speakers list exhausted. Roll call and adoption. Clerk Doyle.
James?
Yes.
McGinnis?
Yes.
Nicholson?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Rutherford?
Yes. Yes.
Carrington?
Yes.
6 yeas, no nays.
That motion carries. The resolution is adopted, and the vacating of Hovey Street as a public street in that section is hereby authorized. We are now at public comment before 7 p.m. Pro Tem Carrington, first up.
Mr. Rick David.
Yes.
To the right.
Yep.
Sure. Thank you. Rick David, 28 Franklin Boulevard here in Pontiac. I'm so pleased to be here. A couple things I want to mention. First of all, I'm focused, as I have been for the last 2 or 3 years, in the Pontiac Transportation Museum. It is in the former Crowfoot Elementary School, 55,000 square foot organization, and it was mothballed in 2007. We have phase 1 done now. It is just fabulous, beautiful, and we're going to open on the 16th of May. We're going to be open Thursday through Saturdays from 10 to 6, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and on Sunday from 10 to 5. We'll have other things coming along on that way. It's our particular feeling that because it looks just tremendous, we have what a story to tell, that the remainder of that 55,000 square foot building, funders will come and they will see that it is a going idea. It's going to work. I just wanted to mention the Fierro folks came last summer. They were downtown, and 750 people came to our city to various places like hotels and restaurants. We're going to have the 100th birthday in 2026 of the Pontiac brand, and we expect over 2,000 people to come to our city. It's an economic driver, and I think it's going to be a wonderful place. And so we invite everyone. There's several city council members that have not seen the final, Cataly and Brett. I'm hoping that you can give me a call. I can show it to you. That's the first thing that I would want to mention. Other things, I want to just compliment the planning staff. I'm the chair of the Historic Commission. And when people remodel in one of our historic areas, they come to us, and Seminole Hills, the Franklin Boulevard Historic District, the downtown area, the GM Modern Historic District, and Fairgrove. Excellent, and the staff in helping in the planning area is just so good. And we're moving from a reactive stance to a proactive stance, and you'll see more things from Mark and Paul and other individuals. The final thing I would want to mention is the M1 concourse and the neighbors in the area. At age 78, I know there are always issues in life, but there's got to be ways that we can work together to satisfy all of the different individuals to create an environment that is good for the neighbors, but that we need economic development in this city so badly. I went downtown yesterday. It was dead. I've never seen it so dead, the downtown area of Pontiac. Amen, and I thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Mr. David. Ms. Rosalind Norcross.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members. I'm here to talk about the Planning Commission and their meeting tomorrow night at 6 p.m. here in Council Chambers to decide to review the site plan for M1 and possibly approve it. I'm also here to continue to ask for environmental justice. It's been 6 years since M1 became a part of our community. It's been 6 years that we've been requesting the noise be at a legal level so that it does not negatively impact the residents. 6 years we've been asking for environmental justice. We hope that tomorrow night, as Mr. David just said, that there'll be a way forward for M1 to do what they do without impacting the well-being of the neighborhood. Specifically, we want the Planning Commission to share whatever data that M1 is using to make any changes in their site plan. We don't want it to be just a good idea, because it's been a good idea for the past 6 years. We need something based on data, based on research. So there's a likelihood that whatever they say is actually going to reduce the noise to a legal level. Also, we want in that plan, in M1's plan, that they demonstrate how they're going to keep the sound level within the legal limits identified in the city's noise ordinance. And for the sake of transparency, we want all of this information to be shared in a public forum, public way, so that the residents, the citizens of Pontiac, understand what is going to happen, why it's going to happen, because we live there and we plan to keep living there. But with the noise, it's impacting people's property values as well as their health. So we're asking anyone who has been impacted by the noise from M1, please join us at the meeting tomorrow night at the Planning Commission meeting, 6 p.m. That's Wednesday, tomorrow, here in City Council chambers. We need your support. We need you to speak up. And we just want you to come and show support, even if you choose not to say anything. And we're hoping this will be the end of the nightmare. Thank you.
Ms. Paula Buckhalter.
Good evening, everyone. Paula is back and on the clock again. Hey, listen, I wanted to, let me look at my notes so I can make sure I don't waste any time here. I'm Paula Buckhalter. I work with the Detroit Sports Commission. And on behalf of the Detroit Sports Commission and Visit Detroit, I want to thank you folks for your tremendous support of the 2024 NFL Draft in Detroit, just finished up on Saturday. I was just here at the end of March asking for your support and making you aware of our Pontiac On the Clock tour that took place on April 2nd at Pontiac High School. And just was blown away by the success of that event. Happy to report out of the 18 on-the-clock tours around the state of Michigan, Pontiac had the most media coverage of all of those on-the-clock tours. Just a great vibe and great energy with vendors and community services. It was almost like a block party and a homecoming and a reunion. And I just want to, come back and thank you for that. I have to say that we are blown away by the fact that the NFL Draft in Detroit had a record-setting attendance. I don't know if y'all have heard, 775,000 folks attended that event, blowing away the record that Nashville set with 600,000 folks several years ago. Like, that's amazing. And we know for sure that all those folks were not Detroiters. They were folks that came down from Pontiac and from a lot of those other on-the-clock tour sites. So, again, so many folks to thank, but I got to start with you folks and certainly Pontiac schools and Oakland County parks. And this is where you get in trouble because you start naming folks and you can't name them all. But Oakland County Sheriff Powell that ran that free youth clinic. The best part of that whole on-the-clock tour was looking out and seeing Pontiac High School football players on that court helping our little kids with those drills. And for them doing that, I was able to invite the football team and some of the staff down to the draft for a special behind-the-scenes tour at draft. And my lesson to them was when you do good things, like you mentor, good things come back to you. So looking forward to that great recreation center we've been talking about. And I'm always going to be here to help and promote Pontiac. So keep up the great work, y'all. Thank you.
Thank you, and a round of applause to everyone from the Pontiac community that helped make the NFL Draft a success.
Mr. Carlton Jones.
It's always good. I don't care where you go. It's always good to come back home. So good job. Great job. I want to talk about workforce development a little bit because that's what I talk about now. That's what I be about. But I want to say now, we had two comments today, and both of them are dear to me. I think the things that Rick Davis said about economic development is oh so true. But what Rosalind Northcroft's talking about, the effects of residents from environmental justice, we all should be concerned if it affects anybody in our city. The most affected is the ones close around there. But if it affects anybody in our city, we all should care about it. We all should care about it. I don't live too far from there. I appreciate what M1 brings to our city. Very much so. But it does not discount me spending over 50 years living in this city as a homeowner to supersede residents' environmental concerns. So let's find a happy medium. But don't let it be because you don't live close to it that you think like you can sit silently and not address it. Now, I want to get around to what I want to talk about. Workforce development. Our city needs workforce development. Now, Mayor, I'm going to tell you this. TDC was not put together just for Carlton Jones. TDC is not just Carlton Jones. TDC was told to us by the state that we need a coalition to work on workforce development. The federal government appreciate what we're doing with our coalition with TDC. So any of you all think that TDC is just me, you're wrong. Lighthouse, Habitat, ARC, all these companies are part of TDC. Now, they ain't got time to spend 3 hours down here. I'm homeboy. I'm on the ground, boots person. I told them I'd do it. What our city needs is a collective, collaborative effort towards workforce development. And I'm going to tell you where I got my strongest response from, and I'm going to tell you we focusing on them. I want to say thank you, Carolyn Price, over at the Golden Opportunity in the Bowen Center. Thank you, Vicki Ellis, and all the people over at the Bowen Center who really welcome us in with ideas of how we can help the community with not only workforce development, but from which healthy communities engage communities. And we're going to reward you all over there because we're going to focus. We're focusing right now with this environmental justice and economic justice with our seniors. So you'll be hearing more. So just thank you all at the Bowen Center for welcoming us in and the company Elevate that I brought in here with me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Billy Swayzer.
Good afternoon. I'm Billy Swayzer. I just wanted to thank everyone who gave us this last week on Earth Week. I call it Earth Week instead of Earth Day because I went out to North Oakland County because of no hazmat day. And I was able to take a lot of empty cans or partially empty cans of paint out there and get rid of them. Was able to get rid of some boxes in the house down at the dumpster that was located on my street. It was 3 in our neighborhood. My neighbor across the street said she seen truck after truck pull up. It don't sound like it's the neighbors, but hey, what the heck? At least they didn't put it on the street. So it's in the dumpster, and the dumpsters will get moved, and the neighborhood will look that much better, but that was a great thing. I want to just also thank Melanie Rutherford, because this week I seen on the news about the returning citizens being able to work downtown and clean up downtown. And that is so much nice that they can be able to do that. And one of the men said, yes, he had spent 21 and a half years away from us. And so he's back. He's a supervisor. And it was very nice to see that even though you made a mistake and you went on vacation, we'll call it vacation somewhere, that he came back and he was able to help other people in the community. I want to just thank you all.
Thank you, Ms. Swayzer. Dr. Deirdre Waterman.
Because the items on the agenda that I had brought to your attention that are here, that are all the things that you're going to be asking the administration why they're having such trouble recruiting and retaining top administrative staff. That's going to happen after public comment. So I'll wait and see what the discussion is on that. But that is a serious concern because of the things, the way it's harming our citizens, particularly with the ARPA money it's being handled. The programs, so many of the programs that affect homeowners for homeowners relief and for small business are way delayed, are not serving as many people as they should. And I've got concerns. Speaking of that, in terms of ARPA money, tomorrow is May 1st, and by the charter, that is the day the mayor is required to have his recommended budget to you. So remember last year when we looked at the recommended budget, I came and advised you, look, don't let the mayor take another $10 million out of the ARPA funding, which he was going to do by his recommendation. So I came a couple of times, finally you saw where it was in the budget, and you didn't allow that to go through, because that should be used for citizen relief, business relief, like we had planned it for. That's why I fought for that $38 million. But youth, I heard Shaquana Davis talk about the youth program she has, and it just reminded me of all the things we're proud about. I'm always happy to see when you award the youth who come through our school system and our community. And I, too, reminds me of the time of my two children, Shauna and Toussaint, who are both Pontiac proud and bred. And I just want to talk about that a little bit as a proud mom. Toussaint, many of you know, and he came through Pontiac as an athlete, and he had volunteers who taught him how to play t-ball. He started playing sports right here by some of our youth rec volunteers when we had youth rec centers, which was a nice thing. I hope we get that again very soon. But he went through Northwestern, went to the Rose Bowl his junior year, and is now in Los Angeles, where he's an investor in some downtown entertainment and restaurant business. And Shauna, who's the older one, also very proud of being born and bred in Pontiac. She is in Los Angeles as well. She was always interested in the theater and media. And she's been an executive producer for a number of stars, but she's now started her own independent film company, and May 2nd, which is Thursday, there's going to be the premiere of a show that she's a producer of on Netflix. She has a deal with Netflix. It's called, oh my, I'm going to get it right, Man in Full, starring Jeff Daniels, a well-known actor, and that's going to be on Netflix, premiering May 2nd. But allow me to be a proud mom, proud that Shauna and Toussaint came through Pontiac, and I'm proud of all the students who have something to come, and they benefit from the youth rec programs that we have in the city that I hope we can restore.
Congratulations to the Waterman children.
Thank you, Dr. Waterman. Next is Darlene Clark.
Once again, good afternoon. This right here is for Ms. Ruffer and for the mayor. On Woodward Avenue, coming to Rapid to get to Franklin, you had a sign up there that said construction. That sign is no longer there. And what's happening, the traffic is moving from the Woodward going onto Franklin Road. And so when they get so far down, they have to turn back around to get back to Woodward because they see that it's closed. But in the morning time and at night, especially if I'm working late, you see people actually driving on the closed off section. So could you please put that sign back on Woodward to say the construction one way? Is that okay? And then this is for the mayor as well. Mayor, in every district, M1 can hear the noise. And I hear that Ms. Norcross, she come here and she speaks about the noise, about pleading with the people or M1 to help. Could you please give the people clarity of what the city has done to help eliminate the noise or control the noise? Now, the contract with the city it was there in the past administration. So whatever's grandfathered in is grandfathered in. But where does the city have the right and the control to control M1 with this noise? Because thus far, they haven't did a very good job. And no disrespect, because it can be heard all over the city. Thirdly, I would like to thank again, Mayor. Today you are going to talk about retirees. But in speaking with the retirees, and in a private conversation, you made it known that you have already signed for the retirees to get their money to represent the city, which is great. But take under consideration that in that process of the retirees trying to get their money, people have died. Take under consideration that the money that the people didn't get at the time should go to the heirs within the family for the time that the money was not issued. It's only fair. It's fair to the family because they had to deal with the retirees' situation with what they couldn't get their money. Also, please take under consideration again, thank you, Ms. Rutter, for that resolution that you put on the table, to get an increase. or to either pay an increase or interest with the money that you say that you're going to give out to the people. The people deserve that for the time length and the stress they had to go under. This has been a long process. This has been a hard process for them. This has been very, very mind-blowing. It's gone too long. 2014 is a long time for people to be under pressure concerning their retirement.
Thank you, Ms. Clark. Ms. Gloria Miller.
Good evening. I got 3 issues I want to deal with tonight. I'm going to start with Hawthorne Park, and I want to end with GERS. Councilwoman James, you know, as I stated, I came from the rec department. My 2 kids were raised up in rec. Willie Ellis, Jerry Pollins, and I think about some of the people that work at Murphy Park. Deborah, we call her Squeenie. Just on, Duck, all of them. I came up with these guys. This is who I grew up with. And it's amazing how you do things in the community and people forget you, like no one showed up at Mr. Art funeral. I want to say I'm for progress, but the problem that gets me is what, some come up and say about, economic development. There's nothing wrong with economic development. The problem that I'm having with the administration is that they're not including us. They're doing what the hell they want to do. That's the problem. You got to include us. We live here. We live here. And Carlton, I don't know if you've seen, the governor was here. She's talking about workforce development. She's getting ready to give some money. Maybe you can get some of them dollars. Because we need some training here for our kids. I run into them every day. So the problem I have with Hawthorne is, though, even though it's not my district, we got other parks here, Ms. Jones, Councilwoman James. We got Murphy Park. They need equipment over there. We keep talking about Hawthorne. And I'm just going to call it like it is. And I love everybody. But Hawthorne Park is over on the other side of town. It's really not in the midst of Pontiac, and that was a park that young kids go to. But we looking at Key going all over the water and stuff. Everything golf going over there. Why not give a little bit to Murphy Park? Why not give a little bit to Milldale, which is where I was raised at? Everything that's going in Hawthorne Park, which makes me wonder why. Why? We got other parks. We got many parks in this city. I'm just calling it like it is. Let me go on. I'm going to mention about the Martin Luther King Bridge. Jerry Moss, Senator Moss, sent me an email. He stated that it will be 3 years. I want you to hear me, Mr. Moss. I don't care if you said it's still not acceptable, okay? 3 years is not acceptable. And I'm going to get to the GERS. The GERS is it's a passion for me. I've been doing it for years. I thank you, Councilwoman Rutherford. You had the balls to put it on the floor. I thank you for it, even though I think it should have came from somebody else. And I also want everyone to know in this city, when you hurt one, you hurt all. When you hurt one, there are other issues with GERS that's going on. There are people that's calling me that have retired at the age of retirement and did not receive the money. That's another issue I'm coming at after this. And I'm going to gather them all up because they have been misused, mistreated, and they were vested. And there were people that received money that wasn't even vested and got money. We got some problem with GERS. I'm putting it out there publicly. I told them when I get done with this one, when they get their money on this, I'm going for that baby girl. Okay? Thank you. Everybody have a good week.
Thank you, Ms. Miller. That concludes public comment. President McGinnis.
Thank you, Pro Tem Carrington. We're at number 4 on the agenda. We're at discussions. Number 4 is youth recreation remote sites. Want to give the floor first to Councilwoman Rutherford to offer her perspective. Councilwoman Rutherford.
Good evening. Oh, can you hear me? Okay. As a member of the Parks, Youth, and Rec Subcommittee, it is my job to ensure that every business as well as vendor are in compliance with both the city, the county, and the state business licenses. I did an in-depth research on several of the vendors that we currently have, and they are not in compliance. I never mentioned anyone's name publicly, nor have I done it still today. The biggest issue is that when I brought the information to the following people, Terrence Price, Terrence Price, who's the Director of Parks and Youth, I gave it to Deputy Mayor, I gave it to the Program Manager, who's supposed to actually verify that everybody has insurance, that everybody is registered, that everybody is in compliance, and I told the mayor as well. That was a inside baseball conversation. So how is it now that an individual who was not there, knowing what we discussed? The biggest issue is, was it checked? It is the city's job to make sure every vendor who is handling our food, who are taking care of our youth, who are working with our youth, are in compliance with a thing called LAURA. That's where you check on the state level to see if an individual is in compliance. There are those that are in compliance, that are not in compliance, and it says, and not in good standing. That is the major issue. And do they have and the place where they're supposed to have these programs at, is it really registered online at the same location that we're actually paying them to have these programs? My biggest issue is that the administration, someone from your staff, ran their mouth. Because I know nobody on this side told. Because there was no reason to, because it didn't benefit us to do it. We agreed to not discuss this, that we were going to make sure that we checked and made sure everybody was in compliance. And it saddens me that someone took this opportunity to make slanderous remarks against this council, because it wasn't just Ms. Rutherford, it was this council who brought this issue up, that being President McGinnis and President Pro Tem Carrington, because that's what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to bring attention to things that are not in order. That is not attacking businesses. That is not attacking vendors. That is making sure that they're in compliance. The biggest issue is, since some individuals who have made statements are still not in compliance, what is the administration willing to do? Are we going to stop these programs until they have insurance? Are we going to stop these programs until they register with the city? Are we going to stop these programs until they register with the state? Are we going to stop these programs until they register with the county? Because we have children involved. And I don't care what office anybody holds. We are about the children, and it is my job to legislate. It is my job to research. It is my job to show when things are out in order and to do it in a way that is respectful, which I have done. Clearly, this administration has not understood what we agreed upon, because that just happened. Stop using me as a scapegoat and deal with the major issues, which is, are these vendors in compliance? Who was supposed to do the research? Do they have insurance? What's going to happen if we don't get them, if they're not in compliance? Do not use me as an opportunity to paint a picture when I'm doing what the people of Pontiac pay me to do, my job. That's it.
Any further discussion? So the City Council has a Facilities and Property Subcommittee. Councilman Rutherford is the chair of that Facilities and Property Subcommittee. And this question is really important because right now, the City of Pontiac does not have a direct facility that facilitates youth recreation programs, AKA a youth recreation center or community center. Obviously, that's underway, and a few discussion items down will delve into that, next steps. But because of that, there are program remote sites. And we want to ensure as a city council that there's the proper protocol and checks and balances so that any remote site where city programming is happening is being done in a way that is safe, verified, vetted, et cetera. There is on the city's website that was provided to us last week, prompted by city council asking, hey, where are the remote sites at? So that way we can get the word out. We want to know where, because it changes each season, the fall programming, summer programming, winter programming, et cetera. For the next programming, because we had special presentations last week, excited, rightly so, we're excited about the new dynamic programming offered for youth recreation. We want to make sure that wherever those sites are now and for future seasons, until it's directly in-house for a city facility, that everything's tight and right. So that was the premise and nature of the conversations during the Facilities and Property Subcommittee. It wasn't on tonight's agenda before it was invoked publicly, because we want to give the administration the opportunity to do their research, to do some review on background to make sure everything is compliant. City Council will still have those same concerns and will still keep asking and elevate it and escalate it as necessary. Councilman Rutherford.
This is a question to the administration through the chair, through the president. Now knowing this, are you guys going to expedite ensuring that all these individuals have their insurance, they're in compliance with the Oakland County and the city and the state? And can we get an actual date since it's been invoked publicly? So can we invoke for y'all to ask the question when y'all going to have this information done?
Any feedback from the mayor or deputy mayor?
Thank you, Council President. When this information was brought to our attention last week Friday, we actually began the process of verifying all of that information, and so we should have that this week.
And in future references, who will be the person that's going to be in charge of making sure that everyone is in compliance? Meaning, do they all have insurance? Meaning that if they say they're at 526, the actual services will be done at 526. I yield to the administration just for the follow-up. Who's going to be the direct person that does that?
I don't have an answer for that question at this time.
Thank you.
Any final discussion on that? All right, we'll keep pursuing that. We're now at what was the original number 4. We want to quickly remind the community of available resources, the roofs, ramps, and repairs program for Habitat for Humanity of Oakland County. We know we had this discussion last week, and we already know that residents prompted by that information have begun applying, and we want to make sure it's first come, first served with limited resources, and that many parts of the city and many residents with their homes are eligible. So we just want to emphasize, get it in, and if you need help, the city council and the city council staff is happy to help connect you with those resources. Again, that's the Roofs, Ramps, and Repairs program from Habitat for Humanity. It is not only limited to senior citizens, although they are a targeted group they do want to help. So don't feel like there's a certain age limit or anything like that. Find out. Don't let this unique opportunity pass by with these resources. Do you have a hand, Pro Tem?
Actually,
Okay. Everyone else? All right. And thank you again, Councilwoman Rutherford, continue to beat the drum for that Habitat for Humanity program. And I want to thank the city council staff who in the last week have been helping connect a number of our residents throughout the city with those resources. Hearing nothing further, next discussion item, which had been number 5. Last week, the discussion topic was about where things stood and was there an answer from Cypria and their attorneys. The mayor gave favorable update, and the next steps was in what method, manner, and timeline does Cypria make that decision of membership, leadership, et cetera? And we want to make sure that while that's going on, are there other steps we need to make sure that everything doesn't get delayed unnecessarily? If there are any new actuarial updates that need to happen over the next few weeks, let's get that ball rolling now so there's no delay. So Mayor Grimes, I want to give you the floor, what your research and negotiations have further rolled out.
Thank you. I think most importantly, I just want to say that a member of the public said that there was a quote-unquote private conversation where I indicated I had signed the term sheet. That's not the case. It's been very much a public conversation. I actually announced that last week at the city council meeting, and then I announced it the following morning at the GERS meeting, both of which are public meetings open to the public. So I've been very open and transparent about the progress that we're making towards a final settlement. The attorneys have ironed out all the language for the term sheet. I signed that term sheet, as I've indicated publicly, and we've received word from Cypria's attorney that this is going to go before the Cypria membership in the first half of next week. So assuming that the Cypria membership approves this, we will then be able to finalize the legal language for the settlement agreement amendment and move forward in court to get this done. So we're very much excited about finally seeing the light at the end of the tunnel here. I also want to mention, because a member of the public mentioned as well, that there was, quote, a meeting in court today. There was not a meeting in court today, but the city did voluntarily dismiss an unrelated lawsuit against the VEBA that did not have to do with the $400 per month. This has been invoked at past city council meetings, the legal dispute between the city and the VEBA. That is not a dispute that involves Cypria. It was a dispute over whether or not the VEBA could unilaterally, without approval of the city, enhance health care benefits. And that is really a separate issue, but we did voluntarily dismiss that lawsuit, and that order dismissing that lawsuit was entered in court today, and so I presume that's what the member of the public was referencing.
So to make sure I'm clear, Mayor, did you get guidance yet on what Cypria's timeline would be for them making that decision?
Yes, the first half of next week.
Okay, that's helpful. And do we know yet? It's okay if we're still finalizing research on whether any actuarial work should be done directly by the city, or if that would be done by the reestablished GERS or some other entity, so that way when everything is in place that both reimbursement of missed out stipend and reinstatement of the stipend can move in short order.
Yeah, initial indications are that it will need to be done by the GERS.
Okay.
However, I want to emphasize that the trigger that determines whether or not that supplemental payment, that stipend is paid, and whether this back payment is paid is really based on, initially for this year, it'll be based on past actuarial statements that have already been completed.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you very much for clarifying that. Further discussion? We'll keep this on the front burner because it's such a serious and time-sensitive matter. Councilman Rutherford?
So to the administration, we have an actual date when they're gonna vote and versus when we're gonna actually start paying these back pay. What's the date?
Yeah, as I've said before, now we finally do have a date when Cypria will vote to approve the terms. That we didn't know last week, but we now know that it'll be the first half of next week. But what we still don't know is when we'll be able to get in front of the judge. So that's a key question that we won't know unless and until Cypria actually votes on the term sheet and the ultimate amendment language is finalized and we actually file that motion in court. So stay tuned. But we're going to push as quickly as we can.
I'm sorry, but I thought that the judge had said that I know we can't go back to court, but what's the purpose of going in front of the judge when both parties are agreeing to this? I'm just a little confused.
Just to get the judge to ratify that agreement between the parties.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's not a contentious thing. If and when, and I'm very hopeful that Cypria will approve this next week, the parties the parties' lawyers will have to finalize some of the specific language, but then the parties together will go before the judge and ask the judge to approve what the parties have agreed to. So that's the final step, and that's necessary in part because this was originally a class action that was brought way back in 2013 or 2014. And so Cypria represents the retirees, but the judge will have to give a formal opportunity for all of the members of that class action lawsuit to be heard in court. And so that's the one unusual aspect of this, where normally in a court action to amend something or have an order entered, the two parties or their lawyers would just sign a form. And that's still the part of the process here, but the other part of the process is the judge, because this was originally a class action case, will want to give everybody an opportunity to be heard. That shouldn't delay this much, but it's just another step in the process. But the two parties, once Cypria agrees, will jointly go to the court and say, hey, we want this approved by the court.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? All right, on to the next discussion, which had been the number 6, new Youth Recreation Center upcoming community input sessions. The City Council recently approved the administration's request for an architecture and design firm to get the designs and the layout of what the Youth Recreation Center will look like, and that involves engaging with the community for their feedback and perspective as that design takes shape. So the mayor indicated with council leadership last week that they had been lining up some of those, at least the earliest sessions. So we want to get the floor to the mayor to share with the council and community about those upcoming opportunities.
Yeah, we're really excited about this, and that's a great summary. We have the architectural design team on board. They have kicked off their process, and we have 3 opportunities for the general public to weigh in and express what residents, all of you, really want to see as part of this architectural design for the new Youth Rec Center. Those have been scheduled on May 6th, May 30th, and June 20th, all at 6 p.m. And the reason for a few weeks in between each of those sessions is because the architectural team will want to listen to that input and actually make some additional drafts and schematics so that when they come back, they will incorporate some of that feedback that has been shared. And so these are really, really important sessions. We want this center to be a state-of-the-art, world-class youth rec center. And most importantly, we want it to reflect the needs and desires of the community. So please join us at these 3 important sessions. We don't yet have the location finalized for the May 30th and June 20th sessions, but the May 6th session will be right here in City Council chambers. So please come out and join us. We'd like to rotate some of the other locations, but the one coming up on Monday, so this is just 6 days away, on May 6th, will be right here in City Council chambers at 6 p.m. The other two locations will be elsewhere. We want to get out in the community, and we haven't finalized the locations for those sessions yet.
Thank you very much. So again, that's this coming Monday, May 6th. And what time again?
6 p.m.
6 p.m. Thank you, sir. Any further discussion on that? All right, we'll keep amplifying that as we get closer to those future input sessions too. We're at what was number 7, the discussion. Does the city have a permanent finance director yet? At last week's city council meeting, the discussion city council prompted was, there is no finance director, what's the plan? So the mayor shared last week who the acting finance director was and the work underway to recruit a new finance director. But it is a little bit different for us to have this identified on the agenda. We had been asking these questions at the subcommittee level or council leadership on behalf of council. And because it's just such a priority for city council and we want to make it very clear, and we keep getting updates to the full council because it's that much of a priority. We want to keep raising those questions. So with that, I want to give the floor to Mayor Grimel or anyone from the administration who wants to share if there's any news on a permanent finance director for the city of Pontiac.
Yeah, we've been without a finance director now for 3 months, which is too long, and we did engage GovHR, a search firm, to actively look for some great candidates out there. That opening, that publicizing of that opportunity by GovHR closes at the end of this week. Already, GovHR has identified a couple of strong candidates that they think merit interviewing, and we're in the process of scheduling those interviews, and we hope that we'll have some additional candidates that come to light this week that we can also interview.
Thank you. Councilman Rutherford?
So who is dealing with the correction of the GFL codes on the budget right now?
That is a all hands on deck between the finance department and myself.
And my follow-up would be, who are the codes that were incorrect been corrected? For example, for like grants, for example, to see if the budget, if it's making sense. Have you already corrected that already, or you're just waiting to May the 1st to present that?
We are still going through the budget to iron out any last minute changes.
Thank you.
And the city charter does require the delivery of the mayor's proposed budget by May 1st. Is the administration still on track for that to be delivered to city council?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion on this? All right, we'll continue to look forward to updates. We are at what was number 8. Does the city have a permanent Department of Public Works director yet? That position's been vacant since October. Mayor Grimel, you have the floor.
Yeah, as I mentioned at last week's meeting, we made an offer to a candidate. That candidate has accepted that offer, and we anticipate that candidate coming before City Council next week, a week from today, for approval and ratification by City Council if City Council so chooses.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councilwoman James.
Yes, has the contract person, he has already started, the gentleman that was here last week?
He has.
Okay, we should say that, you know, so because we do have a contracted director, or his position is what exactly?
He's a contracted consultant who is assisting with the management of the department, not just until the new DPW director comes on board, but probably beyond that, because he will assist with the transition. Robert England came before City Council, I think it was last week, it may have been the week before, and City Council approved his hiring, and he did start last week.
Okay, so we do have the consultant in place, and we have signed a new Department of Public Works director. So should this come off our list?
Presuming that next week or in an upcoming city council meeting it won't be on here because we'll have the director candidate before city council for ratification of the appointment.
Okay.
Further discussion, Councilwoman Rutherford.
Okay, we're talking about the Department of Public Works, correct?
Yep.
Not building? 'Cause
Not the building official, but in terms of facilities, yes.
Okay, then I can't ask, I just put in my closing comments what I'm going to say.
Okay. Anything else on Department of Public Works? All right. Next, what was number 9, the discussion, does the city have a permanent grants and philanthropy director yet? Last week, the mayor identified the acting grants and philanthropy director. And so, Mayor Grimal, next steps.
Yeah, as I shared last week, we have an interview scheduled for later this week. And we'll see how that interview goes and certainly compare that candidate with some of the candidates who have already interviewed for the position. So we hope to finalize a decision soon.
Any further discussion? Okay. The previous number 10 discussion, does the city have an American Rescue Plan coordinator yet? The city council authorized resolutions, I want to say last week, that authorized firms or individuals to be enlisted for being the point person with the city of Pontiac with the American Rescue Plan. Any updates you'd like to provide the city council?
Yeah, it's just been a week, so not yet, but we are gathering potential names that would be good.
Further discussion? In part, it's on the agenda because it's very high priority. We want to make sure that this is handled well, handled proactively, and that the funds are fully implemented and utilized to benefit the citizens of our great city. Hearing nothing further, we're at the final discussion item, ensuring Phoenix Place Apartments building and code concerns are addressed. At last week's city council meeting, it came up in council deliberations and from public comment, and so we want to elevate it to make sure that it's being addressed proactively and that the many residents in that apartment building that we literally can see from this building to ensure that their well-being is paramount. Mayor Grimal, any initial updates that you and the administration want to offer?
Yeah, as I said last week, our code enforcement division under Code Enforcement Manager Jack McIntyre has been working really, really hard and diligently on this. There are very serious problems at Phoenix Place Apartments. We have been struggling dealing with management there. But I did want to provide some additional detail this week because I want to begin just by expressing that when we first started getting these massive numbers of concerns from Phoenix Place, not just one or two isolated concerns, but a lot of concerns, we immediately said to Phoenix Place Apartments, we need to inspect these units and we need to inspect all of these units. And Phoenix Place Apartments pushed back on that. They refused to allow us to inspect the rental units until we actually commenced a court action against Phoenix Place Apartments. And only when confronted with the risk of getting a court order against them did Phoenix Place Apartments finally allow us to inspect all of the rental units there. The way rental unit inspections work is that the rental units are inspected and after the initial inspection, when problems are identified, the landlord is given an opportunity to actually fix those problems. That entire first round of rental inspections has been completed. The final round of rental unit inspections is scheduled for next week. And so we'll see if the landlord has actually made all of the required improvements and repairs. But in the meantime, we've had a couple of code enforcement officers doing weekly checks at Phoenix Place Apartments. I also want to give a lot of credit to our code enforcement manager, Jack McIntyre, because for many weeks, he was going over to Phoenix Place Apartments to meet with residents, to make himself available to meet with residents, to talk with residents about their concerns. And I want to also emphasize that although we've been in court in the past with Phoenix Place Apartments, as I've indicated, we have another court hearing scheduled against Phoenix Place Apartments for the week of May 13th. In addition, we have 6 residents at Phoenix Place Apartments who have opted to, and certainly are allowed to, put their rent money in escrow here at City Hall. As we've talked about in the past, we passed, together with City Council, a new ordinance that allows residents who are living in rental units that are either not registered or not certified to, instead of paying their rent to the landlord, they can come and put their money in escrow here at City Hall. And for any month or a portion of a month that rental unit is not registered and certified, that tenant gets their rent refunded at the end of that month. And so we have 6 tenants from Phoenix Place Apartments who are utilizing and taking advantage of that opportunity. We certainly encourage other tenants there, if they're living in units that are not registered or not certified, to also put their money in escrow here at City Hall. This is all part of our effort to come at landlords who are not abiding by the rules from a couple different directions so that we can better hold our landlords accountable.
All right, Councilwoman Rutherford, followed by Pro Tem Carrington.
Couple of things. Number one, did the administration contact HUD?
Ask your questions and then we'll.
Number two, if they didn't, why didn't they? Number three, which is most importantly, I understand we're going to court. I understand that we're going to have another inspection, but the elevators are still down. We have individuals who have health issues. There's trash, there's roaches, there are rats in the building. And my question is, we wouldn't want our mother, our grandmother, our cousin living in those buildings. And so I just want to know the urgency. It's not just enough to go to court for me. If we call HUD, it changes everything, because most of their funding comes from HUD. And I just want the same urgency that was shown to the Lancasters to be shown to Phoenix Place. And that's why I'm asking, because it was the administration who called HUD, and they showed up lickety-split. And it's rats, it's roaches, it's bed bugs, it's to the point where homeless individuals who don't even live in the building are sleeping in the doorways. We have women who have staying there by themselves, who are elderly, who are at risk. And so when is this administration, forget every other question, just answer this. When is this administration going to call HUD? Because if HUD stops their funding, everything stops. That's my question.
Mayor Grimel?
Well, I do just want to be clear that HUD did not show up lickety-split with Lancaster. We contacted HUD last summer, and they only really started, and we had weekly or biweekly calls with HUD for many months, and they only took this seriously about a month ago with Lancaster. So I want to be really clear that HUD is not the panacea to our problems. I can tell you definitively that our code enforcement officers work much harder and take these matters much more seriously than HUD ever has. And the answer is we, I believe, have been in touch with HUD, but I don't know to what degree HUD has actually been engaged here, because it was like pulling teeth to get them involved with other properties.
Pro Tem Carrington?
Yes, thank you, President McGinnis. So how many units are not in compliance at the Phoenix building?
I don't know the answer to that offhand. We can certainly get you that answer, and we can have our code enforcement manager here next week if you'd like, because he can answer all of these questions much more diligently than I can.
Or you can send me an email, and so and I can see what the numbers are. Thank you.
Councilwoman Rutherford?
Okay. No one's taking digs at the code enforcement. I know Jack is doing an amazing job, so let's not go there. What I am asking is, whether it was lickety-split, 3 months, 6 months, the funding for this building comes from HUD. If you bring, like, do we have to call the news out there? Because it's being, not that you're taking it lightly, sir, so don't take this like a dig at you. I'm saying it's the people that feel not empowered. It's the people that are not being treated fairly. And when you're gone, Mayor Grime, maybe you don't know, it's a whole different ball game from when you walk in that building. And I just feel that this administration can call HUD, can call a congresswoman, can call a state rep, because y'all have that latitude, y'all have that reach, before I do it, and then I get blamed for trying to just to show you up. So I'm asking you to please call HUD continuously, because these are real issues. Not that, code enforcement isn't doing a good job. I need us to stop doing that, because that's irritating to me. When every time somebody says something, we go on a defense, and then I go on the defense, and we have please stop. I just need y'all to call HUD, and that's all I'm asking y'all to do. We don't have to always try to defend stuff if stuff ain't right. We don't, man. Like, just please call HUD. Or the next step is I'm gonna call the news. I hate doing this. I hate calling the news on my administration. But it feels as though the only time I get people to pay attention is when people are focused on this community. And we should not always have to have a negative story in the news. So I'm asking you as the mayor to call HUD. That's all I'm asking. Not attacking Jack, not attacking code enforcement. Just call HUD.
And for another time, Mayor Grimo.
I just want to be clear. Code enforcement, when it comes to rental units, is the administration. They are how we act. They are how we hold people accountable. They are how we hold slumlords accountable. So you can't be critical of the administration when it comes to rental units without, by definition, being critical of code enforcement.
Any final discussion, Pro Tem Carrington?
Actually, none. I'm hoping to close this out.
Well, you're the last leg of the stool. So with that,
Well, can I?
oh, so you don't want to close it out?
No, well, I'm just, we're just really concerned about the living conditions, that's all, in those apartments. So hopefully we can come to some kind of resolution. But I also worry, about relocation of people too. So that is another one of my concerns. But we definitely need to come to some kind of resolution so we can get these units in compliance of the city standards. Thank you.
All right, that concludes discussions. We are now at public communications. Want to let you know about what's coming down the pipeline in the next few days. There's construction underway on MLK between Elm and South Boulevard now between May 15th. So sometimes there's lane closures on MLK and sometimes the side street access is closed. We've also since gotten word that there's a one-day closure for culvert work by the Road Commission of Oakland County on Voorhees Road this coming Saturday. So Voorhees between Telegraph and I assume M59, some of those roads, that will be closed on Saturday the 4th with a rain date of Sunday the 5th. So that impacts Waterford and Pontiac, but want to make sure you know that. Decision day at Pontiac High School is this Wednesday, May 1st. The 50th District Courthouse this Wednesday, May 1st, has their open house from 5 to 6 p.m. at the courthouse downtown. The Pontiac Planning Commission meets May 1st, 6 p.m. here in Council Chambers. The new skate park for the city has their ribbon cutting on Friday, May 3rd. That's in the afternoon. Epiphany Studios on Orchard Lake Road has their spring open studio this Saturday and Sunday. Mental Health is My Business is a free community event happening at the UWM Sports Complex this Saturday, May 4th. Genesis Credit Union has job interviews next Wednesday, May 8th. You heard, this agenda is wrong. My District 7 meeting is May 13th, not May 6th. I wrote that and I still wrote it wrong, so let's skip that. But you heard the mayor announce that input session for the Youth Recreation Center is on May 6th as well. Mayor Grimo, do you want to announce your communication?
Yes, I do want to encourage, again, people to come out to the Youth Rec Center listening sessions because this is so important that we get the Youth Rec Center right, and we need to hear from all of you, our residents, about what you want to see in those sessions. So again, May 6th at 6 p.m. right here in City Council Chambers, May 30th at 6 p.m. at a location to be determined, and June 20th at 6 p.m. at a location to be determined. So please mark your calendars. And then we want to do more business as a city with local vendors. We want to give more business to Pontiac residents. We want to give more business to local small businesses located in the city of Pontiac. And we have been doing monthly supplier connect events right here in City Council Chambers so that if you're a local business owner and you want to get more contracts from the city, you can learn about that process. Our next one is May 17th. That's a Friday, right here in City Council Chambers at 5 p.m. So please join us then to learn more about how you can get contracts with the City of Pontiac.
Mayor Grimo, your closing comments.
Yeah, just a couple quick things. First of all, we do take the noise that comes from M1 Concourse very, very seriously, and that's why last year we bought actual decibel readers so that we can measure the sound from M1 concourse. That's essential if we're actually going to get courts to enforce our noise ordinance. We've got to first measure the sound in a legally enforceable way and determine and then demonstrate in court that they're violating the noise ordinance. And we went out, we began measuring the sound from M1 concourse last fall. And we did not do a lot of that over the winter because there's not a whole lot happening out there during the winter. But we started back up in the springtime at the beginning of April, and we have issued citations against M1 concourse. They have been ticketed this month. So I want to be clear that we're going to continue to monitor the noise there as we do other properties in the city where we receive noise complaints. And this had not been done in the past by the city, but we take this very seriously, which is why code enforcement is on top of it.
Deputy Mayor, any final thoughts? Clerk Doyle, any final thoughts? Councilman Nicholson.
Wanted to give my residents in District 2 some really exciting news. As they are all aware, we've been having multiple feedback sessions regarding council district projects. A few of our projects have been completed, but that big list of projects between different projects and needs from MDOT moving closed out a bunch of those projects without us having to put dollars toward them. And then with the future use of ARP dollars, a lot of the park improvements came off that list as well. One of our big projects, which we will be rolling out, that we have just established an animal welfare fund. It's the District 2 Animal Welfare Fund in partnership with Oakland Veterinary Hospital, as well as in District 2, as well as All About Animals. Each one of my residents is going to get a mailer with a serrated card. They can maintain their dignity as they go in, and if they are catching, releasing stray animals, they'll be able to access spaying, neutering, vaccinations, flea and tick management, and further pet consultations up until the $12,500 that will be input into that account is used. There will be no question. They hand the card to the receptionist at All About Animals, and they're covered, and it's deducted from our account. We will review and get reports for that account, and those funds will be managed directly by the nonprofit All About Animals. That's it.
Very good. Thank you. District 5, Councilperson Parker.
Thank you, sir. Just want to remind everybody about National Day of Prayer, which is Thursday, May 2nd at 6 p.m. down in the City Hall lobby. Invite each and every one of you to get here. Want to remind everyone about District 5 CDC, which meets May 9th, as it was listed in the agenda today, May 9th at 6 p.m. in the Lions Den. Want to just advise everybody that the new Parks Director, Mr. Price, and I toured Galloway Park to show him some of the things that has been done and to give him a good understanding of what some of the things that he wasn't aware of was going to take place. And so he's working on making sure that we stay on track with getting Galloway, some of the renovations that has been talked about at Galloway Park stays on track. Want to make sure everybody know that as we move forward in these citywide cleanup, that there are 2 dumpsters, one in the Harrington Hills parking lot and one in Galloway Park. If you have some items that need to be thrown away, please take them to Harrington Hills parking lot and over to Galloway Park so you can get your items disposed of. And lastly, for a GERS update, GERS met last 24th of April. We was interviewing a couple of the investment administrators and getting their reports as they look at how they're investing the funds that we have with them, and most of them was doing well. There were some issues that we needed to tweak on, and they're doing that. But overall, GERS is still active and alive and doing well. Monies is still being distributed as it's supposed to. If there are some people out there that's having difficulty with getting money or have not received their money, if they would call the GERS and speak with Ms. Tina Turner, I'm sure she would be able to eliminate any issues that you may have. And with that, I have no other comments. Thank you very much. Have a great evening.
Thank you, sir. Councilwoman James, District 4.
Yes. First of all, I just want to thank the DPW and Parks Department for the coordination of the deploying the dumpsters out in our communities. District 4 had a total of 8 throughout the district, and I have to say that the participation from residents and the feedback from residents has been extremely positive. Money very well spent, I think, by our council. And so I appreciate all of the excellent coordination that took place to carry that out. The Parks, Recreation, and Public Works Subcommittee, unfortunately, our date for this month falls on Memorial Day, and so we will not be meeting on the 4th. Thursday, we're going to have to reschedule our May meeting to May 13th, and I will be able to get those notices out, but we will not be meeting on our normal day because it's Memorial Day, but we will be rescheduling that meeting for May 13th. Our community council meeting will be on Thursday, May the 23rd, at the New Moriah International Church on Walton Boulevard, and that meeting takes place at 6 o'clock. Also want to just comment on one of the public comments in regards to the other parks, and I can understand the concern. But all of our, well, not all of them, but most of our parks, and definitely Murphy Park, will be getting some money spent on them because we have allocated opera dollars to go in these parks. We are currently working on the mini and the neighborhood parks, and as you can see in the room, some of the design plans are on display here in the room. And we have others that we're going to be displaying down in the lobby. But the designs have been done for the preliminary, at least. We're looking for additional feedback, but the preliminary plans have been done for the mini and the neighborhood parks. And the next RFP will go out to do the designs for the community parks. But we have allocated $500,000 to go into each district's park. So there definitely will be things happening, good things happening for Murphy Park. And of course, now that Murphy is the largest park in the city, I would think that our grants department, and everybody is focused on seeing Murphy Park, money spent in that park, and that park really becoming what we want it to be. So I support that. The conversations around Hawthorne has nothing to do with the fact that we definitely want to see good things happening in all Pontiac parks. With that, I also want to mention the mayor talked about the engagement sessions for the Youth Rec Center. They will take place on May 6th, the 30th, May 30th, and June 20th. But in addition to the engagement sessions, we also will be utilizing a core group of community residents to work with the design firms, and that core group will be in place for the duration of the project. So we're in the process of putting that together, a core group of community residents who will help us in engaging the community to be able to get the best community input and consensus that we possibly can. So with that, have a great evening, and thank you.
Follow-up, Councilman Parker.
Thank you, President, for allowing me this. And I just want to remind everybody for the National Day of Prayer, if you can't make it to the 6 o'clock time, we have reserved the Lions Den for a moment of reflection if you want to come and pray there during the course of the day from noon until the time it starts, I believe.
Thank you. Councilwoman Rutherford, District 1.
A clever person solves problems. A wise person avoids it. That was said by Albert Einstein. When we stop one-upping each other to save face, when we stop being so defensive when we don't follow the laws of the community, when will this community understand that being in compliance with the city is in the best interest of not only the community, but the city itself? To say I'm against small businesses, or to say I'm against black women, or to say is a lie. I am the most supportive person you've ever met for those individuals. To say I'm against people not having second chances is a lie. Just yesterday, I was a part of something that's bigger than myself, because how can I condemn anyone when we all fall short from grace? What I can do is ask tough questions. What I can do is stand against when individuals try to use their power to be dismissive of the rules and the laws of the land. See, I know this game because I used to play this game. I would try to, one up individuals. I still do it from time to time, but I have to couch myself because I have to remember it's not about me, it's about the community. I used to try to not pay my bills on time or not even register my businesses on time because I knew that I could get away and beat the system. It wasn't until I was 40 that I realized I can't beat the system. I just got to comply and be in the rules of the land. Now, that's hard for some people because I struggle with it. But I'm able to say now that I don't. I'm also able to say that at the end of the day, I understand what triggers me and what doesn't. And what bothers me the most is that I'll be 45 on Monday. 45 years old. Never thought I'd live to see 45. Lost 2 sisters that died before 45, 2 from suicide. And the sad part about all this is they never knew what triggered them. They never knew what bothered them. They never knew how to speak out for themselves. But I've learned how to because I go to therapy and I have friends and I have a God that I serve, and I realize that. And so I wanted to bring up some things that are more important to me than talking about what I'm against. But May is Mental Health Month. And we have these little things that we have in my office, and it says, what can I control? It's important that we understand the things that you can control. Things outside of Melanie Rutherford's control. Other people's opinions, other people's ideas, other people's behavior, other people's feelings, other people's words, other people's actions, other people's plays, and other people's thoughts. Now, these are the things that Melanie Cherie Rutherford can control. My thoughts, my actions, my words, my play, my behavior, my feelings, my opinions, and my ideas. And I also wanted to bring this one up because it's important. It says to give yourself some reminders, because sometimes in leadership, we forget to remind ourselves who we are. It says, make time for yourself and take breaks. It's okay to have a bad and unproductive day. This was not productive for me today. It was a bad day. You deserve, it's a bad day. You deserve love, care, and support. The goodness you see in others is also within you. It's okay to have days where the only thing you can do is survive. Today, I'm just surviving. Believe in yourself and your journey for a brighter day tomorrow. Embrace and accept your feelings inside instead of ignoring them and hiding them. And listen to your emotions and what they're telling you to do and not to do. I say all this to say that we are dealing with real problems every day. And all I can do is pray for those who don't understand my method. But I must still do right. I have to do right even if I lose friends. I have to do right even if people want to write slanderous emails about me. I have to do right when people want to lie on me, because at the end of the day, no one will ever say Melanie Rutherford didn't do right. So for my birthday wish, I just want people to give me the same grace that I have to give them, and to tell the truth and stop trying to always one up, because I'm tired. I just want to work with people. I just want people to be treated fair. I just want people to be in compliance. I just want us to do right and show no favoritism. And I got people that ain't going to like what I'm saying. Even if I'm your friend, I'm not showing no favoritism, because what no favoritism shown to me, everything I have, I had to work for. And that's what the city of Pontiac is about, working for it. We don't have to keep listening to the scenarios and the projection that, well, it's been going on for 30 years. Somebody actually said this to me, this has been going on for 30 years in Pontiac, and people don't have to comply. We can beat that. We can make them comply. We can make businesses get registered instead of having businesses without a certificate of occupancy. And I may bring it up when I come back from out of town. We can bring up the fact that if people are not vendors with insurance, they should not be vendors with the city. That's not personal. That's business. Stop confusing whether I like you or not, or whether you're doing right with the business of Pontiac, because that's what you got me up here for. So happy birthday to me. It's Monday. If don't nobody love me, I love myself. And have a good evening.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Mikhail Goodman wasn't here this evening, but from District 3, I just want to acknowledge that he had a very successful pullover prevention clinic this last weekend. I want to thank him and the partner organizations that made that happen in District 3, and that he does plan another offering of the pullover prevention in a few months' time, that he'll share out some more information with us. Pro Tem Carrington, District 6.
Yes, thank you, President McGinnis. I won't be as passionately as my colleagues been tonight. Happy birthday to Councilwoman Melanie Rutherford. I just wanted to thank some organizations that came out for our annual start to clean up the 6th District. GM Cares volunteers, Ascend Foundation, We Care Neighborhood Association, Flip the Script, GM Modern Neighborhood Association, and others that came out this past weekend to assist in the cleanup in 6th District. I also like to thank the Parks and Recs Department for the presentation they had over at Mount Moriah Church. I've seen some of the small parks projections and suggestions, but I also want, this is to the community, you really have to get involved in some of these talks. You really have to get involved. So please take some time. They have a survey. You don't have to go to those meetings, but at least think about the parks in your district and fill out that survey so we can get a better sense of what people want in these particular parks. If not, you're going to have 1 or 2 people decide in these parks, and then you're going to be upset at everybody. I'm just going to say that. So we need to get involved in helping the city as well as the council and decide what's best for these areas. Because I really want to make sure that we take parking considerations in effect when you do major things that, you know, a lot of people love to do. If there's no parking, that's not a good sign for that particular area. Parking is important. If not, you're going to have a mutiny on your hand with neighbors being against people that will be coming into those parks. I'm going to tell you, I've seen it in District 6 every summer. So we really have to be mindful of what we put in these small neighborhood parks. Again, I thank you for your work. Also, the staff was beautiful this weekend. The Recs and Parks Division, the guy came out, he helped. He was very, I forget his name. I didn't ask him his name, so I apologize for that, as well as the DPW department. We have a lot of work to do. I'd love to see our community getting clean. I had a chance to drive around and look over, and since the trees haven't come back yet, I can see into a lot of troubled backyards that is, you know, I hate to say this, but it looks better. I can honestly say I see some improvements from last year when I seen dump sites in people's backyards. So we don't have that as much this time around. So again, thank you for your work to do, and good night.
Thank you very much. Thank you to my city council colleagues for your hard work in the days leading up to tonight's meeting and then tonight's meeting. Just a housekeeping item, we do have 2 city council meetings next week. One is the regular meeting, same time and place, but then we have the first budget review session. That'll be on Thursday, May 9th at 3 p.m. That'll be the only one that's earlier in the day. Unfortunately, I will not be able to be at either of those sessions, so I will miss next week. I'll be at an economic development conference. Are you applauding because I won't be here? All right, Gloria Miller's happy I won't be here. All right. So I just want to apologize to my colleagues that I won't be able to be here physically in person and just give that housekeeping item. The next District 7 meeting is Monday, May 13th. And that's also going to be the day of the Economic Development, Housing, and Planning Subcommittee. It won't be on the first Monday since both Councilwoman Rutherford and I will be at that Economic Development Conference, and so we won't be able to be there. So that'll be, again, rescheduled for Monday, May 13th at 9 a.m. That's the Economic Development, Housing, and Planning Subcommittee. And so for the sake of time, I think that's enough to say tonight. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Support.
It has been moved by Councilman Parker, seconded by Pro Tem Carrington, that we are adjourned, that we move to adjourn, just mere days away from Melanie Cherie Rutherford's 45th birthday. And Portia Fields Anderson wanted me to say that UWM did a great job for the city cleanup at Murphy Park. So thanks for watching, Ms. Portia, and thank you for that feedback. Roll call on adjournment of the meeting. Clerk Doyle.
James.
Yes.
McGinnis.
Yes.
Parker.
Yes.
Rutherford.
Yeah.
Carrington.
Yes.
5 yeas, no nays.
That motion carries. We stand adjourned at 8:19.